Welcome back to the FFP channel. This is a typical week of FireFit training. So this is a power session. So typically for power sessions, I like to throw in some plyos. So before I do plyos, make sure I hit the lower leg. So calf raises and tib raises. I usually hit about 2 sets. Every time I do calf raise, I like to do a different variation, either a bent knee, straight leg. Usually try and do some sort of single leg version. Today, or for this session in particular, I was doing inversion and eversion. So trying to use the kind of outside of my foot rolling to the pinky when I push one direction, then rolling to the big toe, strengthening the foot in different directions really helps with the change of direction stuff and the lateral hops. So here's the plyometric warm up. So here we just kind of every time we went through the circuit, we tried to change the way we approached the hurdles, and then the box jump at the end was the same as a 30-inch box. So we started with 2 foot normal jumps, just trying to land lightly and explode, every time, and then by the end make a big jump. We've progressed to single leg, right? I try to do a lot of single leg plyos during this FireFit prep. So we did 1 set per side, and then we decided on the last one, let's change up a little bit. We'll go sideways, something a little bit different, and then with a little bit of rotation at the end. There's no real structure to this, just something easy. We did about 2 sets of these each, just to feel more explosive, and get you know the blood moving, feel a little bit more warm. Just a fun way to warm up. Then we went into some lateral hops, so hopping to each cone, and then at the end going right into a broad jump. Trying to get stronger in that change of direction, and especially jumping laterally, super important for the cone run. We do a fire hydrant, but essentially a cone run running in between. So being able to come to the outside at you know a good speed and change direction is super important. So that's why we do these lateral hops here, and then the broad jump at the end was just a fun little addition that we added. After changing directions, a cool expression of power, trying to see how far we can go. A little bit of a competition here, but nothing too serious at the end. Just a nice, fun way to warm up. I try and do plyos twice a week at least, usually at the beginning just to warm up, a lot of single leg stuff. So now we're moving into the power portion of the session with some med ball toss. So we use the 44-pound ball because it's the same weight as the um, hose bundle that I'll be throwing my shoulder to go up the stairs. So we were like, do we want to do some cleans? Do we want to do some med ball tosses? Like, let's do med ball toss, low skill, and we could turn into a little bit of a competition. So as you can see, the cones in the back, we were measuring to see who could throw it further. And we didn't measure based off the roll; it was where it made contact with the ground. So we use a stagger stance because that's the stance I'll be using when I start the race. And we did 1 set per side. We did a total of 3 sets each, so a total of 6 because we did 1 per side. Um, as you get warm, we progressively through further and further. Coach Andreas actually won this challenge in that last throw. He got just an inch or two ahead of mine. Very impressive. I really love the med ball toss. You get that triple extension. It's a fun way to express power, and then making a competition we found was really cool. And the ball was actually moving pretty well. For a 44-pound ball, I'd done this before in my prep. Done the med ball toss. I was going heavier. I was using the 53-pound ball, but I wasn't getting the same response, or the same output that I was looking for. I was really looking for some power development and getting the triple extension and launching the hips. And I just found the ball was a little bit too heavy to get the outcome I was looking for. So we lower the ball to the weight that I would be using for the climb or for the stair climb. And we had actually some pretty good success. We didn't measure to see how far we went. Maybe next time we will, but it was a really, really fun way. Fun the competition, fun way to express some power, and very accessible. You're just picking up a ball. I really like the split stance. I don't know if I had a bilateral stance, if I'd be able to throw it further. Maybe that's something we test later on in the training. But everyone try to be as smooth as possible, right from the ground, right into that triple extension. So yeah, it was a cool way to warm up. As you see, we're all rocking similar outfits, totally by chance. 2 of us at least were by chance. Third person shows up, says, "Oh, okay, this is what we're doing." Rips home, changes his pants. Definitely add to the session. So this is the final portion of the workout. We did some heavy forward sled walks, sled drags. I saw Blaine McConnell doing this for his speed works. I want to give that a try. So we use the TRX handles as kind of like a backpack. We really load up the walk. trying to, you know, get as strong as we can at each step, generate as much power as we can. Curious to see how that translates to the stair climb. So we try to move as fast as possible. We really try to load it up so we weren't moving that fast. Then we would dump 2 plates, throw the handles in a zercher position, and then sprint all the way back, mimicking the dummy drag, especially when your quads are a little bit fatigued, especially from the forward drag. We thought that'd be an interesting addition at the end, s- try and make it as comparable as possible to the actual race when you have to drag that dummy under fatigue. So we were doing about, it was 7, 8 plates on the four drag, so probably closer 400 or 500 pounds. And then we dumped 2 plates and had about 5, so that's around 300 pounds. And we did a reverse walk as fast as possible. Really enjoying the reverse walk. I actually found this was pretty comparable to the dummy drag because there wasn't a lot of space for my feet. So that's session one. Session two, speed and lactic threshold. So warmed up with some speed work on the sled, started lighter with about 2 plates, and we progressively got heavier to 4 plates at the end. 4 plates didn't move as fast as we would like, but we were feeling good and said that, let's go a little bit heavier than normal. So the rope pull was always something I struggled with, just the coordination of it all, having short arms. So this is something I really try to work on, working on the technique of maintaining contact with the rope at all times and not just pulling and then reaching and trying to grab, trying to make contact with the rope, sliding my hand down. Super important technique for the race because if you lose contact with the rope, it tends to bunch up in front of you and then you don't know what you're grabbing. So constantly grabbing and then sliding your hand down, maintaining contact seems to be the most efficient way. Having kind of this false grip and then performing kind of like a kettlebell snatch or a kettlebell high pull and pulling high. So as you notice here, I'm really trying to emphasize pulling to the hip and get as much as I can out of each pull. Working on that hand over hand, feeling a lot better, feeling decently fast. Um, Faster than I have in the past. So excited to see how it actually translates to the tower. Um, didn't have access to the tower today, so figured I would just hit a session in the gym. Mark here was dealing with some hand issues, so he wasn't doing the typical false grip. He was just doing kind of like a hand over hand pull, just trying to get it in. So this, as you can see here, this is my heaviest pull. 4 plates, not moving as fast as I would have liked. Um, Close to 300 pounds here, but was moving pretty decently. Um, you know, there you go. Now you start to see that hand technique of grabbing and sliding down. So overall, felt pretty good. Good, fun way to warm up, leading into the lactic threshold right here. So lactic threshold, we only had time for 2 sets, and honestly, our legs were pretty smoked. This was we had the session right after the power session from the day before, so our quads were feeling it. So 90 seconds continuous. That's what I've been doing for my threshold sessions. 90 seconds with 4 minutes off, so 240 seconds off. Um, Alternate between the sled push and the reverse sled drag. Just really like the sled drag, and I find it just really taxes the quads. And with this sled in particular, it works well. So 90 seconds as fast as we can without stopping. You really start to feel it after that 60 seconds. Your quads are full, you're breathing heavy, and you feel like you're barely moving. You'll see later in this set, you feel like you're barely moving. Um, but it's pretty comparable to how you'll feel at the race when your quads are full. So trying to do a lot more lactic threshold sessions. I didn't do many last year, so I try and hit one per week. Usually trying to use the sled, so I'll alternate between sled push, sled pull, all sled pull. Sometimes I'll do just a sled push. The sled is an incredible tool. Here you see I'm barely crawling. I'm hurting. Um, so yeah, I love the sled. It's a very versatile tool. It's tax to the lungs, tax to the legs, which is perfect for FireFit. So I'll typically do a lot of my sessions on the sled, but then I will do some sessions on the assault bike, which suck. I with the assault bike, you just can't get away for how brutal it is. And then here I'm resting. We figure, you know what? Let's do some active recovery. Didn't do this for the whole 4 minutes, um, but just a fun way to get a little forearm pump, try and flush out that lactic acid. Try to use the arms to help flush it out. Mark, like I said, was dealing with some hand and some wrist issues, so we threw these in to help. Got a nice little pump here, and then did this for about 60 seconds and then rested for the remaining 3 minutes. and then got into another set. Um, you really want to take a lot of break in between the lactic threshold efforts. You don't want to go just back right into it. You don't have time to actually clear all that lactic acid, and it's not a true representation of what you're capable of in that time frame. So I picked 90 seconds because that is my goal this year. 90 seconds to complete the entire course. So I figured 90 seconds is the interval I'm going to work at. So whether I'm doing a sled, stairs, or assault bike, it's always 90 seconds, and I try and get the rest of about 4 minutes. If I'm really, really hurting, sometimes we do 5, but I try and keep it at 4. I've done less. I've done about 2.5 and 3 minutes, and within 40 seconds of that next set, you're already hurting, and it's not a true representation of what you're capable of. So, I was also doing some active recovery. I would use the bike and stuff, but I just felt like it wasn't clearing lactic acid the way as quickly as I would have liked. So I switched to either some sort of upper body movement, so um, just straight arm pulls on the ski erg, or the wrist rolls was another great one, or just completely resting. With the assault bike, I've done a little bit, some like arms only reps, but I end up just doing doing lying on the ground and just trying to catch my breath because the assault bike just crushes me. So I hit about 2 sets here. That's all we had time for, and honestly, like I said, that was more than enough. These efforts really smoke me, so I don't do it more than twice a week, or more than once a week rather. Usually just once a week, and then I try and emphasize the power and speed. Usually trying to hit at least 2 speed sessions, one on the stairs, and one either with the sled, either a pull or a walk, and then usually 1 or 2 power sessions depending on what my week looks like and how I'm feeling. So here's Coach Mark. He did great. This is not a fun workout, but he showed up and got after it, which I was super impressed about. Very minimal rest, just right into the handles. He's a new firefighter, just got hired with Milton, so he's been all in on these FireFit training sessions and firefighter sessions as he's going through his recruit class, trying to get him, as fit as possible, top of the heap. So overall, the prep has been going really well. This isn't my first week of training, but this is a full week that I'm recapping. Training has been going really well, feeling a lot more powerful, a lot faster, a lot more explosive, just more athletic. Like I noticed a lot with my plyos, feeling just lighter, a little more reactive. The stairs are feeling less and less of a chore, feeling a lot more coordinated, and noticing my ability to really push has gone better. I think I think a lot with these lactic threshold sessions, obviously you're trying to build a tolerance to lactic acid. You're trying to you know train the body's ability to what's it called, to process the lactic acid. But I think for me the biggest takeaway with these lactic threshold sessions is just the mental component. Um, Trying to just don't try and not take your foot off the gas and just keep that pedal down the entire time. Knowing it's going to be over, right? It's hurting. You want to slow down and just grinding through. So that's been the biggest takeaway. With FireFit, you get to that dummy drag and you just want to stop. You want it to be over and just pushing through, seeing how much you can redline. That's been my biggest objective with these lactic threshold sessions, especially with the sled. Just keep, no matter how slow you're going, just keep moving, and it hurts, but it's making a difference. So this is his last set, and then that's a wrap for session 2. It was a great session. I think it was about 45 minutes in total, but a great session. I've been really enjoying these FireFit sessions. They don't have to be super, super long. You're only really hitting 2 or 3 sets because of the demands on the system, especially the speed stuff. Um, it's better to take a lot of rest, hit it a few sets, get the output that you're looking for, and then call it a day. Right. So this is session 3, aerobic capacity. So whenever I'm feeling really beat up, whether from training, this session in particular was coming off a shift. I was just tired. I did not want to do anything, but I knew I needed to get some reps in on the stairs. So I treat it as an aerobic capacity day. I throw a vest on and I just go up and down the stairs 20, 25 minutes as long as I really can stand it. Um, Not going crazy fast, but just getting reps in on the stairs, feeling more and more comfortable, kind of like a technique session, a little bit of a cardio session. Um, Actually, I've noticed it makes a huge difference, especially for the speed days. The stairs don't feel as daunting. The more reps I get on there, I end up getting, maybe 9 or 10 reps of going all the way up. four levels. So it's made a huge difference. Kind of like a zone 3 day, not going crazy, but just moving. And once I feel like I'm barely moving, then I call it. So this session in particular was 20 minutes. I was tired going into it. It definitely smoked me, but I was happy I went. Yeah. And then finally, our final session, speed. On the stairs, capturing a couple reps, ripping up with the sandbag. So the sandbag's 44 pounds, the vest is 20. Making sure I'm really resting in between each set, typically taking about 3 minutes, and just driving as much as possible, using the railing, working on the technique, and then chilling on the way down. Noticing a huge improvement this year on the stairs and a lot more reps compared to last year. So excited to see how I perform. Thanks for watching.